Most GCSE math students struggle with questions involving completing the square because they just simply memorize and don't understand. Now, when you have a question like this, where you have to find the turning point using completing the square, students break down. But let me break down how easy this question can actually be. So the question's asking us to complete the square to find the coordinates of the turning point of the curve with equation y equals x squared minus 6x plus 5. So step one is telling us to complete the square. So let's do that. Completing the square on this equation here, all you have to do is write it in the format for completing the square. So x, we square root that and just write it on its own, minus the coefficient of the x. So the number in front of the x, we half that. So half of 6 is 3, and just write that out with a negative to match this. We square it, and then the tricky bit for completing the square, whatever is inside the bracket, we square it and subtract it. So minus 3 squared is positive 9, and we subtract it. So we always take it away, the square. And then you simply drop this 5 down and simplify it. So now in order to simplify this, I'm left with x minus 3 squared negative 4. There's your first 2 marks done. This is in the completed the square format. However, the question is asking us to find the turning point, and this is where most students lose marks. So first thing to do is recognize that this is a quadratic, and a quadratic curve looks like this, where the turning point is at 0, 0. However, this has been a transformed quadratic graph. If you're not sure about transformation of graphs, make sure you revise that topic. But all it's saying is the graph has shifted 3 places to the right horizontally and then 4 spaces down. So in other words, it's gone 3 to the right and 4 down to give you this turning point. So this turning point here is 3, negative 4. However, a lot of students get confused on this step or struggle. So here's a little top tip that's going to really help you. If you have a completed the square format, to find the x coordinates for the turning point, all you do is look at this and use the opposite sign. So if it's a negative 3, the x coordinate for the turning point is going to be positive 3. And for the y coordinate is going to be as it is. So we're not going to change the sign. Simply going to be minus 4. So that's a top tip for finding the turning point. So just to recap, the first mark is for completing the square, the second mark is for getting in the right format, and the third mark is for finding the turning point. For more top tips on how to get top GCSE grades in your maths, make sure you give me a follow.